Hi, welcome back to Unrestrained. Today we're going to be talking about our three different stories. They don't match, so let's get right on into it, my friends.
Let's do it.
Okay, sweet. So my first story is something that's happened recently. It's really wild. It's about the anti-government group that plotted to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer. It's from the New York Times, and it's been updated like yesterday, or not yesterday, but 2 days ago. And this article is just detailing how like the extreme efforts that this anti-government group went to think of plotting and kidnapping Governor Whitmer, excuse me. She's a Democrat who's became a focal point of that group because of anger over the coronavirus control measures.
It's so stupid.
Okay.
So stupid.
Okay. This woman is out here doing her job, trying to keep people safe, and someone said, no, don't keep me safe. I'm gonna come kidnap you because you're trying to. Like, that's so
Like,
dumb.
yeah, it really is. Like, we're so polarized right now that like people think it's okay to just like kidnap someone they don't agree with.
Exactly.
It's so dumb.
And they think it's fine. And the gag is, like, I'm so happy you said that, because she's not the only one who was a target of being kidnapped. Another
He's not.
governor, no, another governor of Virginia, Ralph Northman, was considered to be,
Northam.
was thought about being kidnapped by that same, a possible target. That's what it's called. He was a possible target.
Oh my god.
Right.
Oh my
Absolutely
god.
ridiculous. And Northman's press secretary said that the rhetoric coming out of the White House has serious and potentially deadly consequences, as we can see, right? Like, I can't even imagine what they would have done had they kidnapped her. Like, what was the end goal?
Yeah,
Who,
yeah,
who knows?
it's insane. Like, I'm reminded of that. Did you watch the first presidential debate?
No.
Oh my God, you missed like a big red flag moment that like, because Trump was asked directly, "Do you condemn white supremacists?" And he just wouldn't answer the question.
Yikes.
And
That's
like
an answer.
he was like, "Oh, just give me a group and I'll condemn them." And Biden said, "The Proud Boys," which is a far right wing group, and he literally said, "Stand back and stand by."
What?
Yeah, yeah,
What?
yeah. It's insane. And on this issue, I'm just gonna say it. There is no equivalence between Biden and Trump. None. Like,
No.
yeah, like, because a lot of people, like, they try to create like this false equivalence, right? Because like there are a ton of issues where Biden and Trump are comparable.
Yeah.
Um, like Wall Street, foreign policy, um, like all that stuff. But on this issue alone, no equivalence. Like, I
No.
know that for as bad as Joe Biden is, he's not going to refuse to condemn white supremacists and tell them to stand back
Stand
and
back.
stand by.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
The absolute audacity. And then now we can see, now we see and we can understand why the heck people think it's absolutely okay to kidnap someone that they disagree with, to kidnap a political figure they disagree with.
yeah, it's so crazy. Like, I I despise Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and all those people, but like I'm not going to kidnap them because that's
Okay.
stupid. We live in a free country. We
Okay.
live in a free country. It's just so dumb.
So dumb. Oh my gosh.
Like I I don't even really know what to say cuz like it feels like we live in the stupidest timeline, you know?
Yeah, I don't like this timeline. Can we fast forward?
Exactly. Like
Can we reset?
cuz yeah, cuz like there's like the multiverse theory that like basically there are an unlimited number of parallel universes where every possible reality exists. And like, just take me to another parallel universe.
Where's Doctor Strange? Yeah, have him
Yeah.
come swoop us up. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. So my first story is actually kind of sad. Like this isn't breaking news, but this is the first show we've done since one of my personal heroes passed away, and I just wanted to pay tribute. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'll talk about the political implications of her death in a little bit, but just on a personal note, when I heard that she passed away, I literally started like ugly crying.
Oh.
Yeah, because when people ask me when I was running for office, who are your biggest political inspirations? I would always say Bernie Sanders, Zephyr Teachout, and Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And the reason why I respected Ruth Bader Ginsburg so much is because she was uniquely principled. Like, she stood by her beliefs, and she just wouldn't let go of all of her principles and everything that she held dear. There was a movie that came out recently about the very first court case that she fought when she was still a student. And I don't know if you've seen it. It's called On the Basis of Sex. You've seen it,
No,
Skye?
I haven't.
It's really good. It's really good. Felicity Jones is in it. Hashtag not spawned. um, yeah, but so there are these scenes in the movie that like show how she became, for lack of a better term, the notorious RBG. Like you see like the little inklings of a badass waiting to come out.
Wee.
Like they're like in the final like the climax of the movie, which is her fighting her first court case, which was to oversimplify it a bit, was that she was defending someone who wanted to apply for a caregiver's tax deduction because they were taking care of their sick mother, and they wanted a tax deduction that was in the tax code. And they were denied that tax exemption because the person was a man. So it was a case of sex-based discrimination against men.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
yeah. And she was like, oh, no, this is the right thing to do, because if we establish that discriminating against men is unconstitutional, then that opens the door for people to say that against women it's also unconstitutional. And like there's this scene in the movie where she's talking to the president of the ACLU, and he says to her, you're gonna lose, basically, and when you lose, you're gonna basically set the women's movement back 100 years.
Wow.
And she was like, I'm not gonna lose, because I know I'm in the right here. And in the climax of the movie, there's a part where one of the judges hearing her case brings up a point to her, and he says the word woman doesn't appear even once in the US Constitution, and she says, nor does the word freedom, Your Honor.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And so, like, she just influenced me so much, and she was just so incredibly principled, and she was so funny too. And like, if you listen to her interviews, which you absolutely should, she's hilarious. Like, she's so funny. And she was just an incredible woman who lived an incredible life, changed my life forever. I probably wouldn't have run for office if it wasn't for her. She
Wow.
was just phenomenal, and I wanted to pay my respects here now that I have like this semi-public forum.
Good.
Yeah.
Yes.
And do you want to add anything before I move on to the political aspect of the confirmation hearings?
No, well, yeah. So I like knew of RBG, and I knew that she was like the only woman who sat on the Supreme Court, but I didn't like know about her. I didn't know her in the, I feel like, the intimate way that you know her. So
Mm-hmm.
like when she died, I was like, oh shoot. And even though I didn't know her, it was still, or like follow her, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
it was still a really big like whoa moment. Like, this woman is an icon, and here she is dead. And so of course, I had to go do some research, figure out more about her and who she was, and everything that you said like resonated in all of that I read. Like, she was a very principled woman who stood by her principles, who, like, I read when she was 13 years old, she wrote something about prejudice, its antidote, and the 5 documents that shaped humanity, because I was going to talk about her too today. So I have that article up still, but I'm not going to read it. But it was just like, even from a young age, she held these core beliefs and she never let go of them. And it's just really inspiring to see how far she's come and remain the same. And that's like, wow, like, I can do that for myself too, or anyone can do that for themselves too, just to stick by their own principles.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty phenomenal.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was incredible. And now her death is sparking this huge battle in the Senate that the Senate Republicans are basically scrambling to confirm Amy Coney Barrett, and they're they probably are going to get the votes to confirm her, even though they didn't do it for Merrick Garland in 2016 when Obama was president, because you can't confirm a Supreme Court justice in an election year, apparently.
Apparently, but what's going to happen this election year?
Yeah, but also, like, yeah, Biden's the definite favorite, but they're the final Senate vote is on Monday.
Oh my
So
gosh.
they refuse to even have a hearing for Merrick Garland a year before the election, but they're going to confirm a Supreme Court justice for Trump a week before the election.
A week.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what, because we have a Republican Senate?
Yeah.
That's
And
why.
even though like they were saying, like, there's this quote by Lindsey Graham, who's a Republican senator from South Carolina and is also the head of the Senate Judicial Committee. And he said in 2016, I want you to use my words against me, because in 2020, if a Supreme Court justice dies in the last year of President Trump's first term, you can say Lindsey Graham said, wait until after the election. And now he just completely went back on that, and basically every single Republican has gone back on that.
Of
Because
course.
like that's all they care about.
Is
And
having that seat.
I gotta tell you, if the Republicans fill that seat and the Democrats aren't talking about court packing, if they take back the Senate, they are just beyond useless. If like there's a ton of things that Chuck Schumer and the Democrats could have done to slow this down, but they refuse to do them. And
Interesting.
if
Do you know why?
Because I mean, Chuck Schumer is incredibly weak. Like he's always been incredibly weak. He's always sort of fetishized bipartisanship so much that he's like, I just want to work with the Republicans. I just want to do what I can to like find common ground and compromise. And like a few years ago, I think 2018, he literally offered Trump the border wall. He's the Democratic leader, and he offered Trump the border wall.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is he the Democratic leader?
Because he's weak. Like, the Democrats love caving. It's what they do. And Chuck Schumer is up for re-election in 2022. There are rumors that Representative AOC is thinking about primarying him.
Please, God.
Yeah, if he can't keep his caucus together, if they cave on this, they are beyond useless. And it's a mistake that's going to have unthinkably tragic consequences. Because if Barrett gets on that Supreme Court, and all likelihood indicates that she will, Roe v. Wade, gone. Marriage equality, gone. The ACA, gone. Like, yep. We're going to have to refight fights that we've already won.
That's so upsetting. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's incredibly upsetting. Like, we're going to have to refight fights that we've already won. And it's basically going to be reminiscent of the Lochner era in the Supreme Court, which the Lochner era is an era of the Supreme Court where I think it was from 1895 to 1935 or something like this. And basically the Supreme Court ruled that employers and employees have a right to contract, and the government cannot get in between a private contract between an employer and an employee. So basically what that meant, in effect, is that the Supreme Court ruled that it's unconstitutional for the government to do basic economic regulations.
Oh.
So, child labor was legal in America. There was no minimum wage. Pollution was everywhere.
Wow.
So we could be entering a new Lochner era.
And that's because he was on there for such a long time.
Because we're entering a new Lochner era if Barrett gets on the court, because she is incredibly conservative. She's basically the female Antonin Scalia. She said that she wants to repeal Roe versus Wade. She's incredibly pro-business. And we have Neil Gorsuch and Brett Kavanaugh, who are also incredibly pro-business. And like Gorsuch specifically on the Supreme Court, he literally ruled before he was a Supreme Court justice. He sided with management in a case where an employee would have frozen to death if they had followed management's orders. So
Wow.
Neil Gorsuch
Wow.
literally ruled for a man to freeze to death.
This is what, okay, I get it. This is,
I wish
don't
there
wanna
was
wrap my
a
head
silver
around this.
lining, but there
Yeah.
really isn't. There really isn't. We lost.
Fuck.
Yeah, and my thoughts exactly. That's why I cried when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, because not only was she an incredible human being, the fact that one person died means now that millions of people are going to lose their rights. Millions of women are going to lose the right to choose. Millions of people with disabilities are going to be denied health care because they have pre-existing conditions. DACA is going to get overturned. That's because of the death of one person. One person.
And the ignorance and the power hungriness of an entire group of fucking people.
Yeah.
Speaking about the Republican Party, that's who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's so messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. So, next story.
Yeah, no, fuck. Yeah, no, yeah. So
unless there's anything you want to add.
I guess there's just one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess all of this is really tied together, honestly. But I was listening to the Breakfast Club because I freaking love that podcast. Or
They're
that.
great. Not
okay,
Spawn.
amazing. Nope, but wish we were. But so I was listening to them, and Charlamagne was like, Republicans are doing what Democrats should have done. Republicans have power, and now they're abusing it, but using it, you know? And that's something that the Democrats should have done, so that way we wouldn't be in this freaking position in the first place, which really circles back to your point that whoever is in charge of, you know, the Democratic Party, whatever his name
Chuck
is,
Schumer
is weak, because if he was not weak, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be here.
It's horrible. Like, we have a political party in America that is openly saying we are not going to play by the rules. We will cheat, we will lie, we will steal, we will do whatever it takes. Mitch McConnell is someone who understands. He understands that politics is about implementing your agenda by any means necessary.
Yeah.
He understands that. And Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi just don't. They don't. And the perfect example of this is when Trump's healthcare plan, his replacement of Obamacare, failed in the Senate. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi held a press conference, and they said, oh, since Trump Care failed, we look forward to compromising with them on a new healthcare bill. Instead of saying, no, Trump was wrong, we're pushing for single payer right now. We're pushing for Medicare for all, which everyone knows is the correct answer to solve healthcare in America.
Mm-hmm.
But Chuck and Nancy,
done it yet.
Primary all of them. Not Spawn, but justicedemocrats.com. I'm just going to put that out there. justicedemocrats.com. They're amazing. They're a group that is working to primary incumbent Democrats. They're phenomenal. Donate to them. Do whatever you need to do, because it's not enough to just have more Democrats in there. We need to have better Democrats in there.
Effective Democrat. Okay. Period. That's so fucking ghetto. And I'm pretty sure they probably did that just so they can like, okay, because like that doesn't make sense, right? For them to be like, oh, we can compromise when obviously Obamacare was chill, and obviously we need medical care for everyone, right? So I'm thinking like maybe they were like, let's compromise because they figured that the Republicans were going to give them something in turn, like it's a little power play or something. But I don't think that's ever going to happen. Like I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the Republicans. Here's an amazing fact, Skye. The Republicans tried to repeal Obamacare 60 times when Obama was in office.
So they didn't care. They weren't trying to compromise.
Yeah.
That's okay.
No, they tried to repeal Obamacare over 60 times when Obama was in office. And he had control of the Senate for most of his presidency. So they tried to do it 60 times when they knew it wasn't going to get through the Senate. And even if it got through the Senate, which it wouldn't, Obama would veto it immediately.
Okay. They're so disrespectful.
They still did it. And why can't Democrats fight fire with fire? It's so infuriating.
Honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what are they afraid of? I feel like the worst is already happening. I mean, obviously there is worse that can happen, but you sitting by and not doing anything is not helping the situation.
But do you know why they don't do anything?
No.
It's because they're controlled by the same special interests that control the Republicans. Because how it works, and I've thought about this for a very long time, and this is my theory. The Democrats are basically controlled opposition. They are paid to lose.
Interesting.
So, like, if you look at who the big donors and the super PACs and the military-industrial complex and big pharma, if you look at who they fund strong Republicans and weak Democrats. They fund really strong Republicans that never back down and never compromise, and they fund the weakest Democrats in the world that always roll over and let the Republicans do everything they want.
Amazing. And of course that makes sense. Oh my God, this is why we should keep money out of politics.
Yes.
Money out of politics.
Yes, exactly. We should have public financing of elections.
Okay.
Yeah.
And why don't we? Do you know why? I don't know why. I don't want to research it.
We basically don't have public financing of elections because people in both parties are against it, because they don't think that the campaign finance system is broken because the campaign finance system created them.
Of course.
They're not going to undermine the system that got them elected in the first place. And that's why the solution is to only vote for candidates who don't take corporate money. Because then you know that they're only accountable to their constituents and they don't have anyone whispering in their ear and telling them what to vote for. And that's exactly what Justice Democrats is. In order to be a Justice Democrat, you need to sign a pledge that says that you will not take big money, corporate money, or billionaire money, or lobbyist money.
And you have to stand by it. I'm guessing, like, obviously. Okay.
Yeah.
We need to redo the whole thing. Like, we need to start over. We need to start again, because
we really do.
Whatever is working right now is not working.
Yeah.
for anyone. I mean, obviously it's working like for people who have the money in their
Yeah,
pockets and the
exactly,
people
exactly.
paying them, but for the
Mm-hmm.
people, the majority of the
Mm-hmm.
folks, us, it's not.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I saw this poll that I think was like 94% of Americans believe that money has a corrupting influence on politicians. And 94% of Americans agree. This is like literally the one thing that Democrats and Republicans agree on, but it never changes.
Okay. Who, if we were to change it, how would we be able to change it? Because obviously, like, it's no. That's my question. How will we be able to change it? We have to go through, like, the
I mean,
Senate and.
like there are ways to do it. Like there are different organizations doing different things. There's this organization called Wolfpack that they're basically going through the route of organizing for a constitutional amendment. So they want to amend the Constitution to get
As
public
it should
financing of
be.
elections into the Constitution, so then we won on that issue forever.
Amen. It's just called Wolfpack. Like, that's
Yeah,
it. It's
Wolfpack.
not called nothing
It's
else.
wolf-pack.com, if I'm not mistaken. There's another group called represent.us that they're pushing for state laws that have public financing of elections in states' constitutions. So they're kind of knocking off like one state at a time. Like
That's smart.
there's a public financing bill in my home state of New York now. I don't know if Governor Cuomo's gonna sign it, but that bill exists. So there are a ton of ways to go about it. But one thing that we can't keep having is the status quo where we have politicians being bought, essentially.
Yes. This is exactly what it is. They have a price, and whoever is paying it, and that's what they're doing. They're being bought. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely fucked up.
Yeah. 93% of elections, the person that raises the most money wins.
Right. Yeah. Right. So my story.
That was a rant. Oh my God, that was a rant.
It was very good and informational, honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, and I feel like it was necessary. I swear to God.
Yeah.
What am I? Okay, so my story is more like an excerpt from a story. That's an excerpt from another story. But honestly, I promise you, it's all connected. So anyway, it's the original quote comes from Woodward Book Dishes on Debt War. So this was back in like 2012, so it's hella old. But the point is, it's about a passage from the book, and it says that Representative Eric Cantor presents. Oh, maybe that's Republican. Republican Eric Cantor presents.
Eric Cantor is a Republican.
Okay, then yes, Republican Eric.
He was voted out, but.
Oh, bless his heart. Anyway, he presents a recovery draft that doesn't meet the demands of Obama and Democrats, to which Obama responds, "I can go it alone, but I want to come together. Look at the polls. The polls are pretty good for me right now. Elections have consequences, and Eric, I won." That's the point. That's the point that stuck out to me, is that elections have consequences. So that's the first part of the article. We fast forward to another article where someone, let me get her name right. She's a columnist, Deborah Sanders, and she used that quote against Obama when it turned out that the polls, those of the elections, actually were going in favor towards Republicans. And she's like, "It's time to back off. As Obama himself famously said, elections have consequences." And I think that that's super, the reason why that stuck out to me and it's super important is because elections do have consequences, and it's time to vote. If you're listening, now, if you're listening, 4 years from now, if you're listening when it's time to vote in your state, elections have consequences, and you have to vote for your values and your principles. So that way those consequences align with your values and principles, and those consequences aren't what we're suffering right now with these freaking with these really shitty policies that are being in effect.
Yeah.
And what's going on in the Supreme Court, like that's all because Donald Trump is in office. It's all because the Senate, the Republicans have the Senate, and that's all because of voting and elections. And elections, 110% have consequences.
They do. They do. And a lot of people who say that, like, oh, we're just voting for the lesser of two evils. But here's the thing, like, I don't like Biden at all. Like, I think he's, like, I am well to his left. But, like, especially if you live in a swing state, the way that I've thought of it, and the way that makes sense to me, is that you're not voting for the person who you like. You're not voting for the person that you would rather have in the White House. You're voting for the person who you'd rather fight.
Oh yeah, you said
Yeah.
we've had this discussion before. Go ahead.
Yeah. Like you, like when you have two candidates that are this objectively terrible, you're voting for the one that you would rather fight. And I think that neoliberalism is easier to fight than neo-fascism.
Say it again for the people in the back.
Neoliberalism is easier to fight than neo-fascism. Because, like, a lot of people on the opposite side of this argument that just say, oh, I just want Trump to lose because I just want to go back to brunch. Because there was this sign at the Women's March that went viral that was, if Hillary were president, we'd be at brunch right now.
I don't get it, but that's funny.
Yeah, so like people who just want to turn their brains off and go back to brunch and just hope that, we have someone in the Oval Office who's playing for the right team and who means well. No, brunch is canceled.
Okay, all 2020.
Yeah.
And the following years.
All until 2024, at least.
Okay.
Brunch is canceled. And to all of the people who have heard that, vote for Biden and then push him left, don't let anyone after the election tell you to pick your battles and resist the Republicans and not resist Biden. No, don't let them do that. Because if/when Biden wins, then the real fight begins. And I gotta tell you, bullying Biden would be a lot of fun, wouldn't it?
So weak. Yeah, no.
That would be so much fun to just bully the crap out of him.
It's funny because that reminds it, like you said, Democrats are weak, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to bully weak people. So
Exactly. And I'm not even mentioning like all of the issues where there's no equivalence and Biden's clearly better. Like on climate change, for example, we have someone who has a plan to combat climate change versus someone who is actively working to speed up climate change.
Oh my God. I'm like, yeah.
There is
Yes.
no equivalent. I wish Biden were for the Green New Deal, but he's not. Sad day for me, but he has a plan.
That's somewhere to start. That's a starting point. The other way,
Yeah.
you got to go all the way from scratch. And you
Like,
got to go past scratch.
yeah, like, and on that issue alone, game, set, match.
Okay.
And, like, also the courts. I mean, Merrick Garland, who Obama and Biden nominated in 2016, he's not my favorite Supreme Court justice. He's actually pretty conservative. But I would take Merrick Garland every single second of every single day for a year over Amy Coney Barrett. There is no equivalence. There is no equivalence on the Supreme Court. And also, the minimum wage. Joe Biden, it's on his website, and it's in the platform. He supports a $15 minimum wage. I doubt he's actually going to do it because he never talks about it, but he's on the record, and we can push him to that position. In 2016, Donald Trump literally said that wages are too high in America.
Oh, dear Lord.
Yeah. So if he gets reelected and he's not worried about reelection anymore, he might even lower the minimum wage.
Whoa. You're absolutely, this could get, because oh my God. Because he'll have 4 years to get worse because he's not worried about being reelected. He's not worried about being, what's that word? When you get kicked out of being president?
Being voted out, ousted.
Right. He's not worried about that because we already tried it and it didn't work. So he can really just, if he's
yeah, it boggles the mind.
I'm really over here. That really never clicked. I'm really over here like freaking out a lot because like
what are your thoughts? Because I've been ranting for way too long.
Well, just on that last point that you made about Biden, I don't know, about Trump, like how he's gonna have free reign once he gets, if he gets reelected. Like he's terrible now, and he's close to reelection. So if he does get reelected, and he has 4 whole years of just freedom to do whatever, it's amazing.
He's gonna fire Fauci.
Okay.
Obviously.
Okay. I'm surprised he didn't do it already. Next.
Yeah.
Like, everything is just gonna get so much fucking worse.
Yeah.
Wow. No, that sucks. I hate it here. Oh, and I want to mention, I didn't mention it before in your other story about Amy, whatever. She hasn't even tried a case yet, right?
No, she's been a judge for like 2 years. She's literally the least experienced Supreme Court nominee in American history.
That's the point I want to make. Go ahead, keep. Yeah.
But the base, the Republican base, the Trumpist base loves her.
Of course they do. And the gag is like it's a lifetime job. So even though she doesn't have experience, she's going to be on there for life, pushing the Republican agenda.
I just got to make this one point, and then you can rant on. There is nothing that you care about as someone who is liberal or progressive or Democrat or like anywhere like remotely left. There is nothing that you care about that can survive a 7-2 Supreme Court. Nothing. Because since Trump is replacing these old liberals with young conservatives, let's say we get a progressive president in 2024. Let's say, I don't know, Nina Turner or AOC get elected president, and we have a supermajority in the Senate, and we have a supermajority in the House, and we pass Medicare for all, single payer, or a Green New Deal, or a $15 minimum wage, or legalizing drugs, it would be so easy for the Supreme Court to just say, nope, everything's unconstitutional, and slap it down.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a Supreme Court that is 7-2, as it will be if Trump gets reelected, because Stephen Breyer is in his 80s, forget getting anything done, anything progressive done for 40, 50 years. Forget it. It's not going to happen.
This is so stupid. It's so, like, I'm over here, like, people are going to continue living their lives, right? Like, just because gay or same-sex marriage isn't legalized or might be reneged, whatever the fuck, people will still love who they love. So it's just crazy the way that politics has this impact on our life, even though people are going to continue living lives the way they want to. Like, it's just, why is this even something that the courts need to have an influence on? It boggles me. It just blows my absolute mind.
Yeah.
My absolute mind.
It's awful. It's just, I wish there was a silver lining here, but there really isn't.
Yeah. No.
My second story is actually really interesting, because we are 2 weeks from Election Day as we're filming this. Our next episode is going to be on Election Day. Stay tuned for that. And it's my story is basically a scenario that could happen on Election Day that is actually very likely to happen on Election Day. And it's a scenario that we need to be prepared for. Because Donald Trump has demonized mail-in voting so much.
Oh my God.
That now no Republican wants to cast a mail-in vote. So, because Republicans are more likely to vote in person on Election Day, and Democrats are more likely to vote by mail, and the Election Day votes get counted first, on Election Day, it will appear as though Donald Trump has won re-election in a gigantic landslide. However, as more mail-in votes are counted, Biden will eventually close that gap and overtake him in the Electoral College and win the presidency. So, my question, and this has been rattling in my head for a while now, how are the Trump supporters going to react when on election night it looks like Donald Trump got reelected in a giant landslide, and it appears as though the establishment is trying to steal the election from him with mail-in votes? How are they going to react when 35 to 40% of the population literally believes that the election was stolen?
I mean, I can imagine. It'll be a lot of what happened with that senator, or that governor. A lot of what happened with Governor Whitmer. I feel like a lot of the red boys, the ghetto boys, whatever the fuck,
Proud
are gonna
Boys.
come out. Proud Boys. Thank you. I feel like they're gonna come out. They're gonna stop standing by. I feel like that's probably gonna happen.
I mean, I'm just thinking, is there gonna be violence? Like, what are they going to do? Is Donald Trump going to declare victory on election night and say any other votes that come in are illegitimate?
Wow. He might, but he can't. He can't say that, like, because it's not true.
Yeah, he was asked in the first presidential debate, like, he and Biden were both asked, do you pledge to not declare victory until the election results are independently certified? And Trump wouldn't say yes. He wouldn't say he would wait until the election was certified.
Wow. He's such an ass. He's such an ass.
Yeah.
I feel like that's probably because he doesn't know. He doesn't know because nobody knows at this point what's
Yeah.
going on.
And do you also think that the media, who's always sort of advertised election night as like this big televised event, they've always said like, oh, we're going to be live for like 12 hours straight on election night, and we're going to weed out the bullshit, and we're going to tell you what's true and what's not. Do you think that they're seeing this coming? Do you think that this, what's being called the red mirage, do you think that they're going to have the foresight to say, hey, it's too early to call. We're going to have to wait for the mail-in ballots. This is a mail-in ballot election. No, they're going to say, oh my God, this is just like 2016, Donald Trump, Teflon Don, he's done it again.
Yep. And like, because this is an article, because you came upon this, because this makes so much sense, you would think that these like news, whoever owns the news companies would like try to prevent this from happening, right? But it's about the views, and the views make money. So of course, I don't think that they're gonna prevent it. I don't.
Yeah, I'm genuinely scared of what could happen if the red mirage actually does happen. It's absolutely terrifying. Like, the only way that we could avoid that is if either Trump wins on election night and wins after the mail-in votes are counted, or Biden wins on election night and wins after the votes are counted. Like, anything where it switches, where like Biden wins on election night and Trump wins after mail-in ballots are counted, or vice versa, anything where the winner switches, because it's going to switch a lot, because we're not going to know who won the election until at least mid to late November.
Woohoo. So what happens in between?
They're just going to count the mail-in ballots.
I mean, okay, so he'll still be president until.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and like, the worry is that if Trump is ahead on election day and he loses, that his supporters are going to get violent, or that he's going to declare that the election was illegitimate and he's going to refuse to leave.
Ooh, now that would be interesting. That would be interesting. Has that ever happened in U.S. history before a president has refused to leave office?
No, because we've never had a president this objectively crazy.
Okay, a whole entire child. A whole entire child.
However, though, I'm not that worried about him refusing to leave, because if Biden wins and Trump just says, no, I'm not leaving, on January 20th, 2021, Donald Trump's term in office expires, and there's nothing he can do about it. And if he refuses to leave, the Joint Chiefs of Staff is going to basically drag him out like an uncooperative toddler.
Yeah.
So, yes, it's a possibility that he'll refuse to leave, but I'm much more worried about what his supporters will do.
Okay. Isn't everyone? And okay, I feel like I'm worried what they'll do if he wins. Like, I'm worried what they'll do today. Like, they are so concerning because they are so crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And so selfish and so trigger happy and so protected by the current government that it doesn't matter what they do because they're going to get away with it. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's got me thinking, like, how far back are we going? Like, history-wise, like,
Way
as soon as
far
you mentioned
back.
them, okay, I'm out here thinking, like, people are going to be, Black folks in particular, because this is, of course, is the America we live in, but I'm out here thinking, like, damn, we're about to go back to, like, they're about to go back to the water hose days. They're trying to go back to, like, kill a Black person in the middle of the street and not get in trouble because it's just fun type days. And I'm like, that's not where we should be.
It's enough to make you worry for your safety as a woman of color, right?
Every single day of my life, yeah. Every single day of my life. And I live down south, so you know it's crazy out here. And I work in a predominantly white space, and so I have to drive through, like, these really nice white neighborhoods, and anytime a white person sees a brown person that they don't know, I feel, well, let me not say anytime, right? But the main thing is they get scared. And anytime not anytime. I see I keep making these, like, absolute statements, but I know it's not true. But, like, the point is, occasionally when white people get scared of seeing a Black person, they shoot first and don't ask questions later. And we have the Ahmaud Arbery situation to think of when I'm talking about that. We have the Elijah McCain situation to think of.
We just saw that there aren't going to be any charges for the murder of Breonna Taylor.
Okay. So that right there says, go ahead. Shoot them. Go ahead. Shoot them up, boys. Go ahead. Shoot them up, boys. That's what it says. And that's not the way that it should be.
Yeah.
At all. And my last story is not really, well, I guess it's not really like a political story, but it applies to politics. So it's from Brain Pickings, which is this, like, amazing work of love from this amazing woman who really just writes about history and writes about the relevance, and, like, she cross-pollinates different historical documents, and it's so beautiful to read her work. But this one is about The Will to Doubt, and it's about Bertrand Russell on free thought and our only effective self-defense against propaganda. And Bertrand Russell, who I had no idea who the heck he was, was a great poet laureate of reason, and he addressed the central equation of free thinking, right, which is super important in this world, or at least it's super important across all time, but I think definitely today, when so many people, Trump supporters, are not thinking for themselves and are just simply following the wave because that's what they do, right? And so it says, one of his quotes that really stuck out to me in this article is, "The protection of minorities is vitally important. And even the most orthodox, traditional, conservative," it doesn't say that, but traditional, conservative of us may find himself or herself in a minority someday, so that we all have an interest in restraining the tyranny of majorities." So it's basically saying, keep yourself in check. If you see, like, right now, I'm applying it to modern day, but how the Republicans have the majority in the Senate, how the Republicans are in the White House right now, like, they are the majority. And so their tyranny is reigning over all of us. But someday they may be in the minority, right? And vice versa, as we are right now with the Democrats. And so it's just, in any position that you're in, when you are the position of the majority, you should protect the minority. So yeah, minorities should be protected.
Yeah.
Period.
Sounds like a no-brainer to me.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, like it's just so weird to me that like you have like all these people who are like basically fuck minorities, right? Um
Mhm.
like one thing that I grew up with a lot, like, because I grew up in Brazil, and Brazil is incredibly homophobic. Like Brazil has, I think, like more LGBTQ people die in Brazil than any other country.
Oh wow.
And so like growing up in Brazil, like I basically like I didn't think about LGBTQ people. I didn't like it just wasn't something that people were concerned about. Like um I would hear stuff like even in my own family, like um after I had my sort of political awakening, and I was like, wait, LGBT people are people too, and they deserve rights. And like, there are people in my family who shall remain nameless because I don't want to dox anyone or anything. That I would say something like that. I think, for example, gay marriage should be legal, and they would just look at me in a way where they were almost behaving as if I had just advocated for pedophilia.
Oh wow.
And one of my family members told me one thing that I don't think I'm ever gonna forget. That I said gay marriage should be legal and gay people deserve equal rights, and then this person said, but Raph, and then she used a gay slur that starts with F that I'm not going to say.
Thanks.
And then she was almost saying like, but the F's, they aren't normal, honey. They like you could see like the wheels turning in her brain.
Mhm.
And she was like, but wait, they aren't normal. You know, like this it's just it's a miracle that I turned out as much of an ally as I am.
Well, no, I could. Yeah, no.
Mhm.
That's how my family reacted to like home gay people or people who are gay, people who like people who are the same gender as them. But then like I don't know throughout the years, just as my brother and sisters and I have gotten older, we're really chill about it. So like I don't know. I feel like throughout the years we've kind of taught my mom and my grandparents to be chill
Mhm.
about it as well. But of course, like that, it's not always that easy. Obviously, as you can tell in your situation.
Mhm.
So it's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that's so yeah.
Like what's if you don't mind me asking, like what's been like an experience like as a woman of color in the South that's just that you just can't get out of your mind, like with like even yourself or like a family member or something? Like what's, if you don't mind sharing?
Middle school, I grew up, went to a private middle school, and it was predominantly white, and everyone there had lots of money. It was crazy, and I did not come from a lot of money, so that class spectrum or that class like part was really something to deal with in and of itself. But I also was black, so you have black and low class, and it's like whoa. But not low class, like I'm not classy, but you know, a low socioeconomic class. But
Yeah.
anyway, well, I made friends there not really caring, because I'm a child. I went there when
Mm-hmm.
I was in 6th grade, so I'm like 11 or 12. So I obviously don't know much about racial differences or about racial inequality. But I started hanging out with these white girls, and I would go over to their house, and they were country. They lived like in a different part of the country, they lived in a different county, but it was still country. Like, the country is the country, it don't matter. But anyway, I went to go hang out with them, and they had like a lot of Confederate flags up. And I was like, ooh, y'all know the Confederate flag means y'all are racist, right? And they're like, no, it doesn't mean we're racist. It just means that we're proud of the South. And I'm like, okay, but what did the South do, guys? Like, the South wanted racism, so you guys are racist. And they're like, no, we're not racist. So I just, like, at a young age had to teach white people about themselves. But they still didn't listen. Like, they still, I'm sure to this day, don't believe that there's anything wrong with the Confederate flag. And I think that's something to look into, because I think it's good to be proud of where you're from, but it's also good to acknowledge the harm and the damage that where you from has caused. Like,
and like, if you want to have like something that honors your heritage or honors the South, fine, put it in a museum.
okay,
I'm totally fine. Like, I would be totally fine with having a Confederate museum or something like that.
yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Like, and we're not on this topic, but let's move there for a second. Like, even with the statues, like the Confederate statues,
Yeah.
they should
Put them
not
in a
be
museum.
praised. There we go. That's where they belong. Not in the middle of the street, not where people can, like, look at them all day and be reminded of the damage, but like in a museum where I want to go and reflect occasionally. That's where the heck that is.
With historical
be.
context too.
Okay, exactly. That's what's missing. The historical context is completely missing. But then we have to think, like, oh, who writes history? And is that historical context going to be objective? Hopefully, but we don't know. Hopefully.
Yeah. History is written by the winners, so, and we won.
Okay, so now it's time to put that issue away and start over again. And also, like, there are so many other things that the South can be proud of other than that stupid
country music,
raggedy ass flag. Okay.
Country music. There you go.
Yes, sir. You got country music. If you're from Kentucky, you got Kentucky Derby Pie, which is delicious. If you're from down here,
KFC.
Ew.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay,
you're
now
right.
I like that you. Okay, yeah.
What's up with that, Kentucky?
Right. Do better.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was good when it started, but it's got franchise, so it's nasty. But you're right. Stay hyped. Kentucky Fried Chicken. You got, like, pecans and pecan pie. Like, there's so much pride that the South has that it doesn't have to be that.
Yeah.
And that's why I think you're racist. But anyway.
Yeah, like, just a last point that I wanted to bring up before we move on, that it genuinely blows my mind that America doesn't see the Confederate flag the same way that Germans see the swastika.
Okay, I was going to make that same comparison. I was going to make that same exact
comparison. Get out of my head.
No, because it's good. Like, like, that's... Why not? I mean, we do know why. Because the Civil War wasn't won to free the slaves. The Civil War was won because of economic prosperity, because the North didn't want the South to keep making more money than them by their free labor. That's the only frack mother-loving reason that ish occurred. And so America still has to deal with the fact that it's racist. It hasn't addressed it yet, like Germany has addressed the Nazis.
Yeah, it's insane, because, like, you go to Germany and you go to, like, Holocaust museums and Holocaust memorials in Germany. They are incredibly apologetic for everything that happened in World War II. Like, it's not like that episode of Family Guy where like they go to Germany and like they're handed pamphlets and they're like, wait, there's nothing in here about German history between 1939 and 1945. And the tour guide's just like, oh, they were on vacation that time.
Oh no.
But Germany isn't like that. Like, they are incredibly apologetic. And they to this day, they're the only country in the world that doesn't have a military, because they were like, yeah, we agree, we can't be trusted with it.
Oh.
And
we need to get on that wave. I'm just saying.
Yeah, exactly. And that actually brings me to my final story of the day. So, perfect segue there. Last week, we had a very special birthday that a lot of people didn't realize. And do you know what that birthday is?
Nah, let us know. I do
The Afghanistan War is 19 years old.
Oh!
Making it the longest war in American history.
Sweet Lord.
So, like, I chose this story because I have, I don't want to brag, right? But I have a degree in international relations, right, from Vassar. And so foreign policy is kind of my wheelhouse. I'm about to start a grad degree for diplomacy in a few months. And so foreign policy is kind of my thing. And I remember I was 8 years old when the US invaded Iraq. And I remember watching the invasion live when I was sleeping at my grandma's house. Because my parents were away, they were traveling, so my brother and I were staying at my grandma's house. I turned on CNN, and I saw the Iraq War and the invasion of Baghdad happening in real time. And that had an effect on me. And I am incredibly anti-war. And if I were president of the US, stay tuned for that episode, I guess.
Okay, 20-something.
I would immediately end the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. Because let's just be real, they're war crimes. Like, we offensively invaded two countries that didn't attack us. We killed 600,000 people minimum. We tortured. We wasted $9 trillion. And what do we have to show for it? We broke the Middle East.
Yay.
And here's, like, Skye, here's how we know that there's no end in sight for these wars. They don't even bother to determine what victory is anymore. Because, like, back when we originally invaded Afghanistan, what was the rationale for it? It was, we got to get Osama bin Laden because Osama bin Laden did 9/11. Osama bin Laden has been dead for almost a decade and we're still there. Osama bin Laden has been dead for almost a decade and we're still there. Which
means that wasn't our purpose for being there.
There's no end in sight. And this brings me to a really, really important point. that the military-industrial complex, in Eisenhower's farewell address to the nation, he gave a speech and he basically predicted the military-industrial complex, which for our listeners at home, just a quick explanation of what the military-industrial complex is. It's basically the idea that war is really, really good for the economy. Like when, like one of the things that got America out of the Great Depression was World War II, because we started making bombs and ships and tanks and everything, like the weapons of war, and defense contractors get really, really rich when the country is at war. So, because they have this lobbying power to lobby politicians and buy politicians, and because the defense contractors have jobs in every state, politicians are incentivized to keep the country in a state of permanent war. So we have these like 8 interventions in the Middle East. We have both parties being overtly pro-war, and like the perfect example of what the military-industrial complex does is Obama, for example. He got elected saying that the Iraq and Afghanistan war were stupid and we should get out. By the time his second term ended, he was bragging about being to this day, the only president in American history to spend his full 2 terms in office with the country at war. He was bragging about it by the end of his term.
And honestly, it shouldn't even be called war anymore at this point, because it's not a fucking war. It's a campaign to get money. It's terrorism. It's I can't even think of a terrible word enough to explain it, but it's not war. It's not. War requires 2 sides.
You know what the problem is?
Tell me what the problem
is. In America, our welfare is warfare. Because a lot of people make a lot of money when the country is at war, and those people buy Congress. We are in a state where we have these forever wars that just never end.
I'm like, there has to be a solution that's not war. There has to be a way to make money that's not this.
It's horrible, and like whenever people are confronted about it, whenever like the rationale for an invasion crumbles, like it did with Iraq, for example, they just move the goalpost. Because like, what was the original reason that we gave for invading Iraq? It was Saddam Hussein did 9/11, and then we found out that Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with 9/11. And then, like, if I were there, not to brag, but like immediately you pull out, because the entire reason for the war just crumbled. But what did they do? They just moved the goalposts. They said, oh, Saddam Hussein is working with Al-Qaeda. No, he wasn't. Then they said, Saddam Hussein has weapons of mass destruction. And everybody was like, okay, is he going to use them on us? And the deep state, basically, they said, no, he just has them. I don't know if he's going to use, but he has them.
I'm sorry.
And then that crumbled, and then what was the final reason they gave? Oh, Saddam Hussein's just a bad guy.
On what grounds? Oh my gosh.
And like, here's the thing. I don't think, like, was Saddam a bad guy? Yeah. I mean, but I just gotta say, when he did some of the bad things that we invaded him for doing, he did them with our money and our funding and our weapons, and we supported him.
There it
Um,
is.
and even so, like, even if I grant you that yes, Saddam was a bad guy, I think Donald Trump is a bad guy. Does that give China or India or Burkina Faso or whatever the authority to just invade us just because Donald Trump is a bad guy? No! Sovereignty is a thing.
Okay, you know them conspiracies where it's like Bush did 9/11? Honestly, everything you're saying right now just makes me feel like Bush did 9/11. Dick Cheney probably promoted 9/11. I'm just saying it's more believable because what, we were in a recession, weren't we? And then, oh no, now we have to go to war. Now we have to make money off of the deaths of innocent people. Yeah, I'm very anti-war. So much more atrocities that occur, not only to like American soldiers, but to the civilians who exist in the place where war is taking place. And then and then it hit me like, when war happens, especially like the messy wars that we're having with the Afghanistan and Iraqi war, like once you're on the ground, you have no idea if you are the terrorist or like if the person that you're fighting is a terrorist, right? Because it takes me back. I'm crossing stories here, but anyway, I promise it's relatable. But I read something about this man who was in the Vietnam War, and you know how much of a bullshit that war was. But and all of the atrocities that occurred there, he said that he had watched some of his mates like rape and murder some Vietnamese children just for the fun of it. And he was like, at that point, I didn't know if I was there as a soldier, like as a victor, if I was there as a terrorist. And I feel like that's the same thing that's going on in Iraq and Afghanistan as well. Like there's so many, as you said, war crimes and atrocities freaking happening, and I absolutely hate it. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, it's horrible. Like, a lot of people, I feel like a lot of people, especially in America, because we've been at war for so long, like literally Afghanistan is the longest war in American history.
It's older
People,
than my brother. I just
yeah,
wanted to say that.
people need to be reminded that war is not fun. Like,
Yeah.
we're not like, I didn't come up with this line, but like, we're not sending people to the Middle East to be tickled, you know?
Yeah. No, we're not.
It's just not fun. And now, like, we're seeing, literally, we have people in the military in Afghanistan and in Iraq that were not alive on 9/11.
Yep. They don't even
Literally.
know what they're fighting for.
Yeah. We
Wow.
have people in the Middle East right now who were not alive on 9/11. We have people who like have parents who are in Iraq and Afghanistan, and their kids are now fighting the same war as their parents.
That shouldn't be. That shouldn't be.
Yeah.
Wow. I am so upset about that. And that makes me, so you said whenever you were like, war is not a game? No, what did you say?
Like,
War is not fun.
war's not fun.
War is not fun. Yeah. So you said that, and I immediately like thought like, ooh, Call of Duty, right? Like you have so, and then I'm thinking like, well, when did Call of Duty come out? Probably after 9/11. I don't know. I can Google it or whatever. But then I'm thinking like, is, maybe I'm going too deep, but I don't care. Like is Call of Duty like like propaganda. Like it makes war seem like it's a super fun thing. Like, hey, let me
Mhm.
get these guns, let me shoot these bad guys because they're bad guys for no other reason other than them being bad guys. But I don't know what they did to make them bad guys, but they're bad guys, so I'm going to shoot them and kill them. And that just made me think like the mentality of of children today, of people today, right, growing up in this time is completely different than the mentality when the Vietnam War happened. And I'm like, if the folks, right, the peace, love, hippie era, like, those folks were still in that mentality today, would the Iraq War be going on? Because I feel like it's some of this, like the Vietnam War was a sham, obviously. The Iraq War and Afghanistan wars are shams. So like, what is the difference in the people today that's allowing this war to continue to the people back then in Vietnam that like this social uproar caused them to pull out of the war? Does that make sense?
Yeah, like I think that part of the reason why is that like in Vietnam, like a lot of people didn't really know why we were there, and a lot of people like didn't understand why this was a conflict that required the US to participate. Like a lot of
Got it.
people didn't really know why we were there. I mean, Iraq and Afghanistan, we saw, like, most of the country saw 9/11 happen on TV in real time. Like,
Yeah.
I was in Brazil on 9/11. I was living in Brazil, but my dad tells me like this insane story that on 9/11, he and my mom were having breakfast, and they heard that a plane had hit the World Trade Center, and they turned on the TV, and as soon as they turned on the TV, the second plane hit the second tower.
Oh wow. Oh my God.
And like after 9/11, they did this study that they found that half of America had symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder after 9/11.
Okay. Of course. I mean, of
So
course, that was such a traumatic event. Yeah.
yeah, so like with Vietnam, we didn't really know why we were there, but Iraq, like, there was a reason we were there. It was just that the reason was bullshit.
Got it. Yeah, and that makes so much sense. They just completely reprogrammed
Yeah, and
us.
like, I mean, we reached a point that Michael Moore was booed at the Oscars for opposing George W. Bush.
I don't know who that is, but that's fine. I know who George
Michael,
W. But yeah.
yeah, Michael Moore is he does documentaries, and he did a documentary called Fahrenheit 9/11.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, and he basically the documentary was about how George W. Bush and Dick Cheney were using 9/11 as an excuse to invade Iraq and Afghanistan
Hmm.
that they've been wanting to do for a really long time. The neocons had been wanting to invade Iraq and Afghanistan for a really, really, really long time.
Hmm.
And so Michael Moore was booed by a room filled with Hollywood liberals for opposing George W. Bush.
Like recently, like recently.
No, it was 2004, I believe.
Oh,
Like
that doesn't
right
make it any
after the
better.
invasion.
Wow. Wow. Bless their little hearts. They didn't know no better. And that's the thing. Oh my God. That's they did so well. They orchestrated it so well because of course you. Oh my gosh. I heard. I think it was. Yeah, it was. Edward Snowden. Had on. He was on the podcast with Joe Rogan, and they were talking, blah blah blah, and we're going through his history, and then he was talking about 9/11 and how like it completely changed America. how more people were walking around with flags on, how more people were more patriotic, how more people were willing to die for their country. And it's just like, it all makes sense. I can see it now. I can see why we are where we are because of the way that was handled.
Like, just, this might sound a little silly, but like it ties into what you said. Like the Spider-Man movies, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies, if you rewatch them, there's a ton of American flags in those movies.
Wow.
Because they were released right after 9/11.
Wow.
And I'm just thinking, you don't really need to remind people that Spider-Man is American because his literal colors are red, white, and blue. So
that part.
But yeah, like there's like a clear difference between like media before and after 9/11.
There's a clear difference in America before 9/11 and after 11 in every single aspect. What it means to be American has completely changed because of 9/11, right? Mm-hmm. Now, to be an American, you have to be like a gun-toting, American flag wearing, I don't know.
Toby Keith listening.
Okay, human being. Whereas before, I'm pretty sure, don't hold me, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't like that at all. Oh, basically, my main point, like, without the theatrics, is that America now is different than America before 9/11.
Yeah.
In every way. Whether for good or for bad. All right, go ahead.
Yeah. And with that note, that does it for us for another episode. We will be back in 2 weeks. We're going to do an election night special. That's going to be fun. We are either going to celebrate or cry all night, so stay tuned. And we will see you all then. Bye, everyone.
Bye, friends.